Welcome this morning to the Unitarian Universalist congregation at Shelter Rock. I'm the Reverend Natalie Fenimore. I serve this congregation as Minister for Lifespan Religious Education. Our Minister for Pastoral Care, the Reverend Jennifer Brower, is away on sabbatical. Our interim senior minister, the Reverend Ned White, is off on sick leave recovering from surgery. We expect Ned back next week. Our ministerial intern, Nancy Reed McKee, is elsewhere in the building, down with our kids, and I'm up here with you today. So first of all, I'd like to thank the family of Phyllis Borski for our flowers today. Yesterday was Phyllis's memorial service, and the family would like to thank the congregation for making a home for Phyllis here, and they'd like us to share the flowers with us today. A warm welcome to all of you who are here today, and especially the warm part. I appreciate the great fortitude, the strength of character that enabled you to get out of your warm beds and walk from the front door to the car and come here, because I know there was a temptation when you first opened the door to go back inside. So I appreciate you being here today. And I have this understanding that it will get warm all the way to 30 or 35, just warm enough to snow, but all the way up in the coming days. So take heart, hold on a little longer, we'll make it. So we hope that you have a great experience today, and we invite you to a complimentary luncheon to the UU Cafe. If you are a first-time visitor, that lunch is on us. For others, the lunch is at $5. And the gold passes for first-time people are out at the membership desk. I hope that those of you who are new today had an opportunity to stop at the welcome desk to get more information about our congregation and to get yourself on our mailing and or email list so that you can know what's happening here. In the cafe, you're welcome to sit anywhere, but there is a special table for newcomers if you'd like to just talk to people about what the experience is like here as a new person, first-time visitor. You will see in your order of service that we are a busy congregation and there are a lot of things going on. I'd like to lift some of those up for you. Thursday, January 11th, there'll be cooking for the guests of the Interfaith Nutrition Network, the Inn, in our congregational kitchen, which is behind the social hall. This is a great opportunity if you're new here and you want to get to know people and get involved, and if you'd like to have a desire for some hands-on helping of others. It's a great group of people, so I invite you to come to the Inn cooking when you can. So it'll be this Thursday, 9:30 to 12:30 in our main kitchen. We'll also have observance of a week of action to close Guantanamo Bay Detention Center, which will start here at 7:30 on the 11th in the art gallery, which is right out here. And on the 14th, photo requests from solitary and art exhibit reception will be happening again in the art gallery at 1 o'clock after the worship service. As you may have heard, on Saturday, January 20th, there will be a 2018 Women's March in New York City. We're organizing a group to go to the march together. There's a flyer in the lobby. Please pick one up if you're interested to find out more about going to the march as part of a Unitarian Universalist group from Long Island. Also, we will have Beach Sunday and Beach Weekend on the 28th. The theme is We Resist, We Rise. So please also pick up a flyer about Beach Weekend. Beach is our mission, our ministry of philanthropy here at Shelter Rock. And lastly, but not leastly, at 1 o'clock, Shelter Rock Forum presents a person of moral courage, Chuck Collins, who will speak on economic inequality. And we welcome Chuck Collins, who is here to worship with us today. Would you please stand and receive our welcome?
Natalie, it's 1:30.
1:30 in the worship room right here. Go out, eat, come back. You can leave your coats and reserve your spaces. So I once again offer you are welcome, and as is our custom, I now invite you to greet your neighbor. I'd like to invite Heidi Warm, the Chair of Adult Programs Committee, to light our chalice today. And I will open with these words. From Edward Cyril. There is a beginning, a new day, a new month, a new season, a new year. Forever the old passes away, and newness emerges from the richness that was. Nothing is ever lost. In the many changes time brings, what was in some way will be, though changed in form. Always there is a beginning, a new day, a new month, a new season, a new year. Please rise in body and spirit to sing hymn number 1000, which is in the Teal hymnal, Morning Has Come.
Oh,
standing for the words of affirmation and song of affirmation, which are written in your order of service. Love is a doctrine of this congregation. The quest of truth is a sacrament, and service is prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge of freedom, to serve human need. This we do firm and covenant with each other. Thank you. Please be seated. choir. We will now receive an offering for the life and work of this, our congregation. What we give in this moment comes back to us many times fold, so please give generously. Will the ushers please come forward? Listen. Listen to the quietly falling snow, to the contented melodies of a free bird, to spring raindrops communing with the earth, to trees dancing in a summer breeze, to the flowing stream hastening to reunite with its source, to the rhythmic cadence of a baby's breath, to the synchronized footsteps of strolling lovers, to the burning desires of your heart. It is a sound of silence. It is the voice of God. I now invite you to come forward and light a candle of joy or sorrow, memory or hope. Feel free to use either candle box. Let us sit for a moment in silence, warmed by the light of our candles of joy, of sorrow, memory, and hope. The new year has come in strong with storms of snow and anxiety. There is still war and fear of war, and our leaders and those of other nations threaten and belittle one another. And so our hopes and prayers are for thoughtful reflection, prudent action, and peace in our world. And here in our congregation, we have experienced a number of deaths which have weighed us with grief and sadness. Yesterday, we held a memorial service for Phyllis Borsky, and next Saturday, there will be a memorial service for Doris Miller. We hold in our hearts the members of our congregation who have experienced loss this last month. Forgive me if I miss anyone, and remind me later if I have and you would like me to speak your name. Mark and Karen Hartman, we grieve with them on the death of Mark's stepfather. Melissa Pappas on the death of her mother, Joan Wold. Jana North and David North on the death of Jana's mother. Ron and Elizabeth Rowell on the death of Ron's mother. Bruce and Jean Smith on the death of Bruce's father. We send words of sorrow and support to them and to those of you who are newly experiencing a loss, or who are grieving or now in pain or sorrow. And to those who are not yet able to share with us their needs, know that we are here for you, that we are with you, that you are not alone. But as is the case with life, this new year also brings with it newness, new life, and new possibilities. For our former ministerial intern, Oscar Sinclair, and his wife, Stacy, welcome their new baby daughter, Elish Margaret, to the world. May this child and all children be blessed with love and care. May her light and the light of all children shine bright in this world. They are our hope. They get us through. May it be so. Amen. And now I invite you to sing, seated, the hymn Spirit of Life, number 123. In the gray hymnal. from Mark Bellatini. It's true. When our ancestors spoke of heaven, they were speaking of this moment. When they went on about nirvana, they imagined a time like this. When they sang of paradise, it was this morning they imagined. A time when all the mysteries of life and death are blended in a community of praise. When the bones of ancient lovers are given flesh again in our own bodies. Teachers of long ago speaking of love and truth once more in the lives so ordinary that they are extraordinary. Blessed is our breath, in and out, quiet. Blessed is our sitting, our fidgeting, our movement. Blessed is our heartbeat, echoing the pounding alleluias of the distant stars. Blessed is the silence that is presence, not absence. So may it be. George, don't sit down. I'd like us to thank George Weissman, who's our guest conductor today. George is our children's music specialist and usually works with the young people's choir and now the old people's choir, the adult choir. Also has an opportunity to work with George. I also like to thank the choir. I don't know if any of you know that the choir usually rehearses on Thursday evenings, and something happened on Thursday evening which enabled them not to have a rehearsal. So I really appreciate how much they have done with such a shortened week, and I thank you. Okay. So, your mother or your grandmother may have said this to you. I know that it's been said to me. They say, well, if you don't have anything to say, don't say anything. Now, often we believe that the opposite of disagreeing, the opposite of critique, is silence. But that cannot be the case all the time. Probably not even most of the time. The truth is that we have to find a way to speak about things that we believe are wrong, or that need improvement, or that might have been done better or differently. We need to find a way to speak about those things, to speak about our differences, to speak about our disagreements. Silence is not always an option. It's not always the right thing. Silence is not always the sound of love. There is a place in our community of faith for challenging, healthy, productive, enlightening, and transformational arguments. We can learn and grow by pushing right up to the edge of who we are at this moment, to the edge of what we believe and know to be true at this moment, right up to the edge, so that we can look over it and decide if we want to go to the new place that exists there or not. Staying where we are, thinking that we already know everything, not engaging in debate and conversation and disagreement, will not take us to the new place we may want to be. So, we do need to make a space for that outsider voice, that irritating voice. Because so often, that is where our transformational possibilities lie. The sound of the outsider voice, the challenger, the agitator, the prophet, always has been important in our religious history. Unitarian Universalists have been and should continue to be doubters and naysayers and searchers for the truth. That also makes us irritating, troublemaking, argumentative people. That can make our congregations places where there is conflict. Question asking leads to conflict. But we've always also prided ourselves on being people who carry the light into dark places. And we don't want to stop being that. Our Unitarian Universalist faith lists as a source of our principles, a source of what is at the core of who we are, the words and deeds of prophetic men and women which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. So, confrontation, yes. Compassion and love also, yes. So, I'm a child of transported Southerners. So I'm familiar with the sound of a pleasant word with another message underneath it. So you may have heard this. Bless your heart. Well, just Just bless your heart. Oh, you're just sweet as can be, honey. But you may know that sometimes that's not really a blessing. Sometimes that's actually a cursing, right? People do a lot of cursing at and of each other. And there are many reasons that people behave in this way. Some, like my southern people, grew up with it and see it as a valid way of expressing something that they don't want to say directly. That's sort of coded language. Some people actually do not know any other way of handling a disagreement with another person or any other way of relating to someone who they perceive as being different to them than to argue, to curse. They act out of fear or anxiety or the perceived threat that they feel from another person, or a sense of superiority which they have, which leads them in their interactions with other people all the time. These people need to see and hear another way of interaction modeled by those around them. It's our responsibility to disrupt that pattern of behavior. Some people seem to enjoy an argument. We probably all know one of those people. They get in a room and they just take the opposite side just to do it, right? They desire, they enjoy the excitement, the energy, the power and control that they experience when they get a really good wrestling match going on. You know those people. They're saying things and you don't even know if they really believe that. They're just taking the other point to bring up the heat in the room. There's power in that. Others just need attention. They may not believe what they're saying either, but it feels good to have all the eyes turned to you. They need that. Now, we can turn away from these toxic behaviors. The linguist Suzette Hayden Elgin lists 8 ways to disagree without being disagreeable. Be mindful of your tone. Don't use you statements. Don't sound accusatory. Avoid filler or hesitant phrases. Try to be clear and direct. Just say what you're saying. Do your research and ask clarifying questions. If you're going to challenge what someone believes or says, don't come in uninformed. Don't think you know what they think. Don't think you know how they feel. Don't get too personal, which is almost always the most difficult thing to do. Every argument is not about you as a person. Sometimes people are actually just talking about the issues. Right? Or sometimes, when you're talking about something, you should be talking about the issues. Be mindful of your body language. You can hurt or insult wordlessly. Know your non-negotiables. Don't go into an argument or a conversation or a disagreement saying you're going to change your mind when you know you're not. Be clear about what's so important to you that you are not willing to change. It's not a bad thing to stand up for what you believe in. You just don't have to insult people who have a different point of view. Try to assume best intentions, which is another hard one. So I would say, at least try to believe that not everyone is out to get you. It is the case, though, that some of the people who you might think are just disagreeable, the people who you might think are just a little cranky, just a little off, that some of those people might actually be abusers, seeking to control people they think of as weaker. Try to learn the difference between those who are just having a difficult time managing disagreements and conversations, and people who are abusers. Our faith does not call us to sacrifice our worth or our dignity or our principles to hostile language. Our faith does not ask us to be abused. To be silent when there is abuse, threat, or hostility is to deny this community an important and needed sense of safety and security, of peace and freedom. If we allow ourselves to be held hostage by abuse, to become silent, that silence is not the sound of love. In our lifetime, we will each probably hear all sorts of conversations or arguments that are painful or hurtful to those we love. From the almost casual rudeness that we encounter so often in the street that we may not even believe ourselves affected by it. We may think we're immune to it at this point. But I have to tell you that if I hear one more honk on the road before the light is turned and I haven't moved, I am not immune to it. I don't want to be immune to it. I want to recognize it as rudeness and ask that it not be done. I want to recognize it as rudeness when someone jumps in front of me in the line. I want to recognize it as rudeness when the checker at the supermarket does not say hello. I'd like us to ask for a higher level, an expectation of courtesy, of kindness, of civility. I don't think that's too much to ask for. And we all have an obligation to make that ask in order to make the world a better place. We have this casual rudeness, and we have also obscene hate speech. Speech hurled by neo-Nazis or white supremacists, or by someone who is simply ignorant. We also have an obligation to speak against these things. Our children and youth are asked to endure bullying and now cyberbullying, and the endless provocative tweets. We must stand against speech which we know to be harmful. Not a day goes by when I do not have someone tell me they don't even want to listen to the evening news anymore. They are weighted down by the stress and anxiety of what they have to hear about the terrible state of the world. I can understand the impulse to turn away, to tune out, not to listen. But we do need to stay present. We need to not become just hearers of the word, though. We need to be part of a ministry of bringing the sound of love into the world. Our congregation has a covenant to help us to remember our commitment to try to honor our diversity as a source of communal strength by accepting, respecting, and celebrating differences among us, always remembering the golden rule. You know the golden rule, do unto others, right? There's also, have you heard the platinum rule? Ask others how they wish to be treated and treat them accordingly. We need to acknowledge that while we may not always agree with congregational decisions, which is part of our covenant, we will honor the decision-making process and respect the outcomes. But let's be honest. Unless we believe that we have been heard unless we believe that our system is fair and just, unless we believe that all voices are equal, unless we believe that we can be courteous and civil and respectful, we are probably not going to honor that decision-making process. So part of our covenant needs to be understanding and acknowledging and building a congregation where everyone feels that they are being heard, that they are being cared for, that they are being valued, that their thoughts, that their ideas are part of our decision-making process. And then, of course, you will honor that decision-making process, and you will respect its outcomes. That means also that we have to be a place of lively, respectful critique and commentary. We are not, as a Unitarian Universalist congregation, a place where people just nod their head and go along. That's not who we are. We are a congregational body. Each and every one of us is a decision maker. Each and every one of us has a voice and the responsibility to use that voice in a loving, caring, compassionate, responsible way. We are also asked to remember our commitment to aspire to be a loving religious community where we can grow spiritually and build a more just and joyful world. The UUCSR Board of Trustees has adopted its own agreements to encourage board conversations to be more fruitful and to build a stronger sense of its own unity, so that it can do better the work of this congregation. Here are a few of those agreements that apply. They are asking that they listen respectfully to others' opinions. They're modeling step up and step back, which is a phrase that comes from Unitarian Universalist youth community. It means participation is encouraged, step up, but allow space for others to share as well, step back. If you find you're talking too much and dominating too much, shut up. Step back. And make a space to welcome the voices of those who have been quiet, who've been on the edge. You know, we have both in our communities, although it doesn't always it seems like we're all extroverted, but it's actually not the case. They're quiet Unitarian Universalists. And they need those of us who have moments of not quiet to step back and give them time to think things through, to process, and to come in. Those are often the voices, those thoughtful, considerate people who've taken some time. Those are the voices we want to make space for. So step up, step back. Wait, says the board. Why am I talking? Think about pausing. Think about listening. Try that. See how it works for you. And give thoughtful feedback in direct conversations. Now, we all know there's the meeting in the meeting room, and then there's the meeting in the lobby, and then there's the meeting in the parking lot, right? There's a lot of value in that continuing conversation, but there's more value in speaking directly to the person that you need to have the conversation with. The desire is to not stop differing opinions from being spoken, but to enable differing views to be heard, to create an atmosphere of respect and listening. Our goal is to disagree without becoming disagreeable people. Being disagreeable is not actually about disagreeing, but about disrespecting. We cannot act in a way which denies the inherent worth and dignity of each person, even when we disagree with that person. And that disagreement can be something very, very, very much more serious than whether or not you like one of my sermons. Our disagreements can be about issues which are fundamental to the human condition, fundamental to our ability to hold on to our worth and dignity. Think big. Mahatma Gandhi, led the nation of India out of colonialism and into independence, facing the power of the British military with respectful but persistent nonviolent civil disobedience. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King led in the same way during the American Civil Rights Movement in the 60s. Dr. King wrote, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." Our own Unitarian Henry David Thoreau wrote the book on civil disobedience. These leaders strongly and directly and consistently challenged those they opposed, but they did not dehumanize them. Gandhi said, "Violence should be resisted not by counter-violence, but by non-violence." Our words can be a form of violence. Our words have weight, emotional importance, emotional significance. Look around the world. Remember the death of Heather Heyer at a protest this August against neo-Nazis. Violent, hate-filled words turned into violent, hate-filled actions which killed her. So much of the violence and terrorism in this world begins with disrespectful, dehumanizing words. When we do not speak the sound of love, we speak the sound of hate. The principles of nonviolent social change, which the Unitarian Universalists support, which Shelter Rock supports as part of its ministry through the VEACH program, through large grants, through socially responsible investing. These principles are large-scale versions of our actions toward one another. We choose to go out into the world with love and kindness and care and concern. We must exhibit that here with each other to begin with. We cannot just support justice and compassion out in the world. We must support justice and compassion here among ourselves. We can bring the sound of love here. It can be our normal way of being. So I have this button on my desk. It says, "Is it true? Is it kind? Will it help?" I'm not advocating a resurgence of goody-goody niceness. I'm not actually asking us to be nice. I'm asking us to be kind. The Reverend Kimberly Debus, who will be leading our Soulful Sundown worship this coming Friday, has written this about niceness and kindness. Niceness, she says, buys into the gospel of comfort and says we don't want to offend. Niceness is complacent. Niceness doesn't bother anybody. Niceness says comfort is more important than doing what's right. Kindness sees a need and offers to help. Kindness stands up for a person who's being bullied. Kindness disrupts lawlessness and incivility. Kindness goes out of its way. Kindness, not arguing, it's what's going to make a difference. And so I ask you to consider living with the questions on this button. Is it kind? Is it true? Will it help? Can you incorporate these questions into how you are going to live? How you speak, how you act? Can thinking about these questions help us to amplify the sound of love in this community, in our community of faith? We must decide to take the responsibility ourselves to affirm and promote the sound of love. So may it be. Amen. Please rise in body or spirit to sing our closing hymn, number 1017 in the Teal Hymnal, Building a New Way. I close with these words by Duke Gray. The blessings of truth be upon us. The power of love direct us and sustain us. And may the peace of this community preserve our going out and our coming in from this time forth until we meet again.